When people hear a number like 6.5 billion in revenue, they react emotionally. Some get excited and say that's massive, and others shut it down and say no chance. Almost nobody slows down and asks the only question that actually matters in this conversation. How would that number be built step by step over time? What revenue, what churn, what retention, what subscriber rate, what average spend per customer needs to look like? See, markets don't reward big numbers. They reward credible paths. And if the story makes sense and the narrative makes sense, then we can have big retail buy-in, because if people can see the path ahead of them, they're more likely to have certainty in the stock and the direction of what's happening. So today, let's walk down the logical path of what could happen. In this video, I'm going to break down the math behind a potential 6.5 billion revenue outcome, and we will look at the starting base. We will walk through the three main growth levers HIMS need to pull on, and we will combine them into a realistic long-term framework to see how this could play out over time.
Welcome to the game, it's the Instant Stocks by Mikkel Kuhar.
If you don't know who I am, my name is Mikkel, and one of my highest values in life is freedom. That's why I've partnered with X10 over the last 4 years to develop a day trading software that allows you to get 8 to 15% return every single month. This is something we've developed over the last 4 years to allow pro traders to trade through your Interactive Brokers account. Great thing is you never have to send us any money. All of your trades stay in your account. We just send the buy and sell signals directly to you. For me, I'm not in US time zone, so this is amazing. This allows me to day trade every single day, even though my time zone is completely different. I'm a big believer that you should have 80% in the long term and 20% in short-term trades. This allows me to do that very, very effortlessly. It does take a little bit of effort. I've got to fire up the computer every single day and make sure the software is running. Outside of that, you set it and forget it and just check in every single day. These are the results we've been looking at in February, and these are the results in January. And this is something we've developed over 4 years with over $1 million invested to it. So if you want to find out more about that, you can click the link below and you can check out all of these testimonials. We have hundreds and hundreds, but beside the point, if you really want to find out more, you want to see the ins and outs of how it works and all the results we've been getting for clients over the years, just book a call below. I'll walk you through the entire process. We can start it up and get you trading within the day. So let's get stuck into the video. So let's start with the base. Let's start with the foundation. In 2024, HIMS generated roughly $1.5 billion in revenue. That already tells us something important. That is not an early concept company. That is not a pre-revenue story. Once a company crosses the $1 billion mark, infrastructure is already in place. Like, systems are built, marketing engines exist, the customer profile is clear. There's a massive proof of concept that has happened years before, and now it's a matter of optimizing and scaling this. And as we've seen in the revenue growth, year over year, they've been doing that really well. Now, growth becomes more about execution than experimentation. And then in 2025, guidance moved toward roughly 2.3 to 2.4 billion in revenue. That is nearly $1 billion in incremental revenue in a short period. Going from 0 to 100 million is difficult because everything is new. The infrastructure isn't in place. The regulatory side of things is just a whole world to get on top of to be able to have expansion into different markets. So going from 1 billion to 2 billion can actually be easier because everything's already in place. If you ever gone camping or you've even started a fire at home, sometimes it can be really hard to get the fire going at first, but once a fire is going, it's very easy to throw a really big log on there and really get it going because the base is there. It's already working. This getting from 1 million to 2 million, like, it can actually be easier, not because the company works less, but because the machine already exists. The scale creates momentum. And if we talk about the first growth lever in this, the revenue per subscriber. In 2025, the average monthly online revenue per subscriber was around $80. Now, at first glance, that sounds small, but that number represents something much deeper, and it represents trust in the brand, in the space, in the product. It represents reoccurring engagement. It represents an ongoing relationship that the consumer has with the company. Now, if that number increases from $80 to $100, that is a 25% increase in revenue per user. So if that is like that across the board, we look at a 25% uptake in just revenue from increasing the average spend per customer. No new customers are required. No extra ad spend or marketing is required for this to happen. Now, if it rises to 120, that is a 50% increase from the $80 base. And that kind of expansion does not require raising prices aggressively. It can come from cross-selling. It can come from adding services. It can come from deeper engagement. It can come from different niches and areas going into, expanding on hair, mental health, weight management, preventative care, like anti-aging, vitality, all these things they're already in. Now, this is how average revenue per user expands over time. It compounds without needing massive new ad spend. It compounds without needing a massive new expansion into a new country, which is happening at the same time. So if we add the second lever, subscriber growth, in 2024, HIMS had roughly 2.2 million subs, and that is already meaningful scale. If that base grows steadily each year, even at moderate rates, the revenue foundation widens. Now combine a growing subscriber base with rising revenue per subscriber. Revenue does not grow in a straight line. It begins to curve, and this is how compounding works in real life. It's not explosive, but it's layered over time. If we look at the acquisition that's just happened in the last week, which is almost across the line with Eucalyptus, well, this really matters because the United States has about 330 million people, Europe has about 750 million, and that more than doubles the addressable population. Now, if the platform model works in the US and proves repeatable in Europe, that ceiling really shifts. International expansion is not now limited by the regulatory factors just in the US, right? It also does not require inventing a new product. The core platform already exists, and then the brand exists as well. So the subscription model already exists, and you adapt to local regulations and language, but the engine remains the same. When a company moves from one country to multiple continents, valuation narrative really does tend to change. And a single country company has a visible ceiling, right? A multi-country platform really extends the runway. If we combine these three levers, a steady growing subscriber base, gradually rising revenue per subscriber, and location expansion, that increases the total addressable market. So none of these alone guarantee 6.5 billion. Like, I'm never going to give you guys guarantees on this channel, but together they create a real credible path. Together they create a path that really makes sense. For example, imagine several years of steady subscriber growth combined with average revenue per customer rising from 80 to 110 to 120. Layered on top of that, expanded reach into different countries and continents. You don't need extreme assumptions. You just need consistency over time. So when we look at this from a 5x or a 10x stock, from that mindset, large outcomes rarely come from one breakthrough year. They come from 5 to 10 years of disciplined execution while the market slowly updates its expectations. At first, the target looks unrealistic. It looks too big of a number and too far away. And then it starts to look ambitious, and now it starts to look achievable. And eventually it tends to look just obvious. You know, hindsight's a beautiful thing, but we're not there yet. And that is usually how long-term winners really unfold in the market. So $6.5 billion in revenue does sound big. It's not a small number, but big numbers are not the point. The path is the point. The narrative, the certainty that they can deliver and execute on what they say they're going to do. Now, if subscriber growth continues, if revenue per user expands, and if location continues to broaden, the math compounds over time. So the real question we really want to be sitting with right now is, when you look at HIMS, are you reacting to the size of the number, or are you evaluating whether the path the number is being built on step by step makes sense? The price right now has been massively affected by headlines. We can't deny that, right? That we saw a massive shift in the stock price. We now have the earnings to look at, and we have the acquisition of Eucalyptus as well. All these things are setting ourselves up for a big reversal on where the price is right now. That is what I truly believe. Now, this is not financial advice. Always do your own research. But I'm really excited to see these next few months and see where we can take this. As always, if you want to find out more about HIMS, I've got a bunch of videos on my channel here. You can go through there. I've got a second channel as well, which I'm posting every single day. Every single day, I'm bringing about 30 to 40 pieces of content for you guys covering just HIMS. So if you want detailed information on the company, what they're doing, what the projections look like, what the current numbers are looking like, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you again in tomorrow's video.